Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for coming in the rainy weather to our workshop. Tonight we're going to be going over commas, comma usage, apostrophes, and comma contractions. My name is Jennifer.
And I'm Taylor.
And the first topic we'll be going over is comma usage. And we have a little joke for you.
Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is commas after introductory phrases. So what I want you to do is, I want you to read the first sentence in your head to yourself and pay attention to where you pause naturally in the sentence. Okay, now listen to where I pause in the sentence. After the movie, we are going out to eat. In many cases, and this goes for any time you're using a comma, in many cases, when you pause naturally in a sentence, it's usually a comma there. In this case, all an introductory phrase, which is this part right here, all that is a phrase that expresses the main idea, which in this case is we are going out to eat. So in the second sentence you have, by the end of the week, I'll be done with exams. So your introductory phrase, or the phrase that introduces the main idea, is by the end of the week. And it goes the same for these next two sentences. Before I get started, comma, I always make sure I have all of the ingredients. And the last one, if we leave here by 3 o'clock, comma, we should get there by 5:30.
Okay, so the next part, we call these coordinating conjunctions. And as you can see, it spells out fanboy, so that's a neat little trick to remind yourself of what they actually are. So what these do is you have, a lot of times when you're writing a paper, you get these short, choppy sentences sometimes, and your teacher wants you to expand them or make it flow better. So what you can do is when you have two main ideas, like in the first example, I like ice cream. Ford is the best dessert on earth. You can join them together with a coordinating conjunction to make it flow. So you have, I like ice cream. Ford is the best dessert on earth. Makes it a longer sentence. The second one, earning a degree in higher education takes a long time. And it costs a lot of money. So you're just going on with the other idea. Hannah couldn't remember what the homework was, nor could any of her classmates. So in this sentence you have like a contradiction and you join it with nor. The next one, I worked on my project all day, but I still have a lot to do. It's a contrast again. So that's the first three, and we have some examples for the next. We can go to the movies, or we can binge watch Supernatural. So you have different options that you can join together with the coordinating conjunction or. Studying can be very boring, yet it can also be very helpful. Jeremy couldn't figure out how to do his math homework, so he found a tutor.
Okay, commas and added or extra information. So when you have a sentence like this one here, my first grade teacher, Mrs. Carter, was born in Alaska. Right here, Mrs. Carter, that is your extra or added information. This is information that you really don't need in the sentence for the sentence to make sense. You think about it, how many first grade teachers did you guys have? Because I only have one. So if you only have one, then obviously you're talking about Mrs. Carter, so you don't need that. You could say, my first grade teacher was born in Alaska, and it makes perfectly sense. It's understood that it's Mrs. Carter. It's the same here. Sarah, as far as we know, plans to live in Peru for a year after she graduates. Again, this right here, as far as we know, is extra information. We don't really need it in there because you could just as easily say, Sarah plans to live in Peru for a year after she graduates. Because this is extra, you're separating it with the commas.
On the other side of that is when you don't need a comma. And this is when you don't really need the when you need the information to understand what the sentence actually means. So we have a sentence, the movie Moana is Bailey's favorite Disney film. How many Disney films are there? There's tons. So if you take out the Moana part, the movie is Bailey's favorite Disney film, we don't know which film you're talking about. So that information doesn't need to be offsetted by commas because it's crucial to understanding the meaning. Another example, the professor that teaches my chemistry class ran a triathlon last year. I don't know about you guys, but I have at least 5 professors this semester. So if I say the professor ran a triathlon last year, I don't know which professor that we're actually talking about. So you wouldn't put the commas here because that's information you would need.
Commas and quotations. Alright, I know a lot of people have trouble with this, but I'm going to make it simple. First of all, the commas always go inside the quotation marks, always. So in this first sentence, these are all the same, by the way. I've given you 3 different ways to do a quotation. This is the last time she said, I will let you borrow my tuba. So right here, she said, this is kind of like extra information. You're telling us who said it. She said it. So you're going to want to separate that with commas. And again, one more time, the commas go inside the quotation marks. So right here, she said, this is the last time I will let you borrow my tuba. This time, she said is at the beginning of the sentence. But you can also put it at the end of the sentence, like we did right here. This is the last time I will let you borrow my tuba, comma, she said.
So commas and other transition words. Transition words are when you use however, furthermore, nonetheless, consequently, etc. So a lot of times when you're reading sentences like this too, you naturally pause after these words as well. So we have a sentence, Jasmine had a fever this morning. Therefore, she did not go to school. You naturally pause, so that's where the comma goes. The landlord does not allow pets in the house. Otherwise, Tommy would have adopted a cat. You will do the laundry. Meanwhile, I will clean the kitchen. So now we have some practice for you guys after the first section. And we also have another joke. Okay, so you should have gotten a worksheet in front of you. So we're going to do the first 2 examples. And there's some pencils and pens up at the front if you didn't bring. So this is just adding a comma. Can I get a volunteer to read the first sentence?
Man,
Go ahead.
after you do your homework, you can call your friend.
Okay. Where do you naturally pause in the sentence?
Can I read it here?
Yeah. Go ahead.
After you do your homework, you can call your friend.
Okay, so where does the comma go?
Homework.
Right. And this would be an example of an introductory phrase. Can I get someone to read the second sentence?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
If Trey decides to go to Greensboro, I will go with him.
Where did you pause?
After Greensboro.
Great job. And it's another example of an introductory phrase. Does everybody have those? Okay, move on to the next 2 sentences.
I'm just going to read this one to you. Tammy saw the film, but she did not enjoy it. Did you guys hear where I paused? Anybody want to tell me where the comma goes?
After friend.
Right. So in this case, you've got one of your fanboy words. What is the fanboy word in this one? That's right. All right, the second one. The dog must have heard a strange noise, for he barked. So where's our fanboy word?
For.
Right. So where does the comma go?
For.
Very good.
Okay, so this one's a little trickier. So for the first sentence, Johnny's car, which was 13 years old, would not start.
After car,
Go ahead.
Okay, and where's the next one?
after car and after,
Can you tell me why?
because which was 13 years old, doesn't
Right. Okay, so Rosalinda, excited, began jumping and clapping her hands. So the commas would go right after, right. Oh, my bad.
Come back.
Sorry. Alright. Our neighbor Winston is not always very friendly. This one's kind of tricky.
Right.
How many neighbors do we typically have?
A lot. Well, it depends.
Let's say we have a lot of neighbors, which most of us usually do. Where would you think that the commas would go?
After neighbor and after Winston.
Right, but if we have a lot of neighbors and we're pointing out Winston specifically, is that information that's crucial? Yeah. So if we have 20 neighbors and out of the 20 neighbors, we're talking about Winston, only Winston, that's information we would need to know. So there aren't any commas in the sentence. Does that make sense? Okay. So here we have quotations.
This is kind of structured like the previous slide that had quotations on it. So Michael asked, "May I borrow a pencil?" So where does the comma go here?
After X.
Right. Yes, Kira answered, "You may." Alright, first of all, is it only one comma that needs to go
No.
here, or is it more than
Two.
one? Okay, alright, where do they go?
After yes.
Mm-hmm,
And after Kiara answered.
right. Thank you, he said. Where does the comma go here? Very good.
Good job. Okay, so here we have some transition words. And like we said earlier, you naturally pause after saying these words. Thankfully, Jude remembered to bring a snack. So our comma goes after.
Thankfully.
Unfortunately, BJ did not remember. So after unfortunately, right. So now we're going to talk about apostrophes, and we have another joke. We're going to take a look. Okay.
Okay, the importance of apostrophes. So here we've got 3 words that look the same, but they mean completely different things. Students, students, and students. The first one is with no apostrophe at all. All that is the plural form of student. The second one is students with an apostrophe before the S. So here we're talking about a singular possessive. So you've got one person that owns something, like the student's book. And the last one is students with an apostrophe after the S. That is a plural possessive. So you're talking about 2 or more people that own something. So here we have, go ahead.
So to use an apostrophe in singular, we have Bob's shoes. So the shoes belong to Bob, you just add an apostrophe S. But what happens when your word ends in an S? This can be kind of confusing to some. So you have the same sentence, and there are 2 different things you can do. After the S, you can just add the apostrophe, or you can add the apostrophe S. Either form is correct. When it's plural, we have the children's toys were all over the room. Children is the plural form of child. You just add the apostrophe S to make it possessive. I went to my friend's party. Friends is the plural form of friend, so you just add the apostrophe. But we have this same example, but a plural form. So we have more than one actress. The actress's roles are very different. You add the ES and the apostrophe. Make sense?
Contractions. Okay, so contractions are basically when you take 2 words and you kind of smush them together into a shorter form. So the first example here, cannot, instead of saying cannot, we're going to squish it together. So you put an apostrophe before the N and after the T, and you've got can't. So 2 more examples, do not becomes don't, and we are becomes we're, and there's several others. So here, I'll just read the first example just for you guys. I can't believe you wrecked my car. It's a little bit shorter than saying, I cannot believe you wrecked my car.
One issue that comes up sometimes and when you're writing papers for your classes is whether you can use contractions in your writing. That depends on your professor. So And a lot of times when you come to the writing center, we advise you to go ahead and spell out the words because some professors might not like contractions. But if you would like to use contraction, I would advise asking your professor directly.
And if you want a professor that allows contractions, there it is, right there.
So we have more practice. And another funny joke. Okay. So we have these. So for the first, Julio's brother used to live in Texas. Whose brother is it?
Julio.
Julio's. So we put the apostrophe after the O in Julio. The women's department is on the second floor. Whose department? Women's. So we put it before the S in women's. The dog's chew toys were strewn throughout the backyard. Whose dogs plural or dogs singular?
It could be either.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of right. It can go either way. We've just decided to put it after the S to make it plural.
How would the meaning change if you had the other way? Like, so can you go back one slide to that last one? So you have the dog's apostrophe after the S there. What would the meaning be if you had the apostrophe before the S? One dog that had many chew toys. In this case, we have many dogs that have many chew toys. So it really does depend there on where it goes.
Okay. I'm gonna let one of you guys read this one. Anybody want to volunteer?
I'm sorry for what I said earlier.
Okay, so what word needs a comma? Right. So you put an apostrophe in between I and M. By the way, that is a contraction of I am, just so you guys know. Alright, who wants to read the next one?
They couldn't make it to the party after all.
Okay.
And then couldn't is could not.
Good job. Karen. So common contractions, and yet again another joke.
Alright, we're gonna talk about its versus its. So the first one is it's with an apostrophe before the S. This can actually be two different types of contractions. You can have it is or it has. And we've got an example for each. Instead of saying it is really windy outside, you could say it's really windy really windy today. The second one, using it has, I can't believe it snowed only once this year. That's a little shorter than saying I can't believe it has snowed only once this year. Now, it's without an apostrophe. I know this is confusing, but this is like an exception to the rule, so it's understandable. It's without an apostrophe is a singular possessive. You don't put an apostrophe with this. So the dog has its tail in the air. There is no apostrophe needed. And the second example, the school is hosting its open house Friday. So again, we don't need an apostrophe. It's understood that it's a singular possessive.
Okay, so there, and there. These, a lot of people get confused with, and it's understandable. The first there is like a place. There is a basketball game this weekend, so it's there. There can only be one winner. The second is the possessive form. The students did really well on their presentations, so the presentation belongs to the student. Their teamwork is phenomenal. Same, students' teamwork. And then we have there as the contraction of they are into there. They're going to study abroad in Spain next semester. Based on class discussions, it seems like they're going to do well in the final. And when you kind of figure out about these, you can replace there with they are, and if it works, then it's the correct form.
Alright, and the last one is your versus your. So the first one, Y-O-U-R, That is basically a possessive adjective. All it is describing something. Like if I were to say, this is your book, whose book is it? It's yours. So it's describing whose book it is. So right here, your house is big. So whose house is big? Yours. And this one, let's take your car today. Now, YOU''RE, again, is another contraction. It's a contraction for you are. So you're a great student. And the second one, Bob says you're going to Georgia this summer. So, this is how I always remembered it, just for your information. When you need a verb in the sentence, that's when you know that it's the contraction and not while you are. You always look for verb. If there's already a verb in the sentence, in most cases, you're not going to use this because this is an adjective. Oh, and just a little reminder, I know that in today's world, we text all the time, we're on Facebook all the time, Twitter all the time, we're shortening everything. But in formal writing, like an essay for class, you cannot use you are for your and your. That's not appropriate, which I know you guys already know that, but just letting you know again.
Okay, so more practice time. On your, and here's another picture. So you could do the first 5 on your worksheet and then either put your pencils down when you're done or look up after you're finished.
It's gonna be a long day. You got the right answer, my dog?
I know I do.
Okay. It's going to be a long day.
Okay, are we good?
It's okay, it's. Is that?
Okay, can I get an answer for the first question or for the first sentence?
No, you.
It's going to be a long day. The second is
Which one?
the second.
Okay, and that's because it's the contraction of it is, right? Okay. For the second sentence,
With the second there.
can you read the sentence for me?
He is taking his parents there for lunch.
Right. Okay, number 3.
You're. Well, I mean. The first one, I have already graded your paper.
Correct. Okay, number 4. Okay. And it's, why is it correct?
Ma'am?
Why? For the your, I'm sorry. Your paper. I have already graded your paper. Why is it this your?
Because it's your paper.
Right,
One
it's
person's paper.
possessive. Correct. Number 4.
The cat licked its paw, the first one.
Right. Possessive. Yeah. The second one is the contraction. And number 5.
That is where you are going to be seen.
Right. And I like how you put in the you are. Okay, number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. Who wants to do number 6?
Yeah, that way.
Can you read it?
I would. They are celebrating the Chinese New Year.
Very good. And number 7.
No, you
Wait, sorry. Carisha packed their THEIR bags for them.
Very good.
Right.
Oh, wait.
And number 8.
You are supposed to pick up the mail every day.
Right.
Somebody get one wrong here.
And number 9.
There's the new restaurant that Lynn mentioned to us, THERE.
Very good. Alright, and number 10. Alright, come on, y'all.
Oh, my
Number
fault.
10.
No, they don't have a capital letter on our paper.
Yeah, it definitely.
So it definitely ain't right on our paper.
Which one?
Typo on their paper.
Oh, was it? Oh, I apologize.
But it's still ITS, right?
Both of them
Yeah,
ITS.
Right, it's this one,
No apostrophe.
cause it's possessive.
Both of them is ITS.
I apologize.
Oh, no, it's fine. We're just trying to tell you. We're trying to process elimination.
Okay, thank you guys.
That's
Were there any further questions?
Can one of y'all sign off on my paper?
I can sign off on your paper.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
So